Welcome to the deep dive. You guys sent in some really cool stuff this time.
Oh, yeah.
Excerpts from this Black Pearl journal from 2001,
Okay.
Volume 1, Number 10.
Wow.
And this thing's, it's not just any old journal entry, right? We're talking Thelema,
Right.
Kabbalah.
Interesting.
We even get some personal insights
Yeah.
into Aleister Crowley's mystical visions.
Okay.
So get ready to stretch your minds a little bit.
I'm ready.
Maybe even have some of those aha moments along the way.
Yeah, so what's really cool about this journal is that it was actually published by the College of Thelema, and, it doesn't shy away from kind of blending that historical context with, these personal journeys. We'll be exploring, how they interpret ancient wisdom and how that might resonate with you today.
I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the College of Thelema,
Huh?
what exactly is Black Pearl?
Yeah.
This isn't like something you just pick up, at the corner store.
No, not really. It's more like think of it as like a scholarly but accessible kind of meeting of the minds for those interested in Thelema and Kabbalah. The fact that this issue dropped on the autumnal equinox
Oh, wow.
in 2001, that's a pretty important date in the Thelemic calendar. Just adds another layer
Right.
to this whole thing, don't you think?
Totally.
Yeah.
And the editor's letter even kind of hinted at some real-world applications of some of these esoteric principles,
Right.
especially given the timing of when it was published, like right after 9/11.
Right. The editor actually talks about using these principles to offer support and healing in the aftermath.
Wow.
It's like they're saying, hey, this stuff isn't just theoretical. It can actually help us deal with tough times.
Like a toolkit or something.
Yeah, like a practical toolkit. Yeah.
Hidden in these ancient traditions.
Exactly.
But they also mentioned a price increase for the journal,
Oh, yeah.
going from $6.50 to $8.50 an issue.
Oh.
But they did honor existing subscriptions.
Oh, what's good.
It just makes you realize, even these niche publications got to deal with the realities of economics. Yeah, the material world, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into some of these articles.
So,
One that really stood out to me was One Bird in Flight.
okay.
It's got this really, wonderfully humorous tone to it.
That's what's so clever about it. It
Yeah.
uses satire to poke fun at the hierarchical structures you often find in these esoteric orders. It's almost like the author's saying, hey, let's not take ourselves too seriously.
And it makes you wonder how much of that satire is based in reality.
Right.
Like this fictional 0-0 order
Uh-huh.
with 11 grades
In 11th grade.
and some really outlandish requirements for each one.
Like the Neophyte who has to master air travel and
Sure.
control a TV set.
A TV set.
Can you imagine?
It's amazing.
It's hilarious.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I think the takeaway there is that it's a subtle jab at those complex systems of advancement
Right.
that you find in some of these esoteric groups.
Well, I've definitely seen some elaborate rituals and requirements, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes it so thought-provoking. It makes you question, what's the purpose behind all these structures?
Yeah. And it reminds us that even within these profound traditions, there's room for, a little bit of laughter and self-awareness.
Absolutely.
But from the playful satire
Yeah.
of One Bird in Flight, we move to a more serious exploration with the 32 Paths of Wisdom. This article really tackles Kabbalah head-on,
Okay.
focusing on the concept of these 32 paths of consciousness.
And these paths aren't just theoretical concepts. They're like active tools
Okay.
for your spiritual growth. Think of it like a map of your consciousness with 32 different routes you can take,
Wow.
each leading to a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe.
Okay, I'm starting to get a sense of this.
Okay.
But can you give me a concrete example of how this might work?
Sure, let's take the second path, Chokma. Wisdom.
Okay.
This path is associated with your will, the stars, and even the archangel Raziel.
Wow.
The idea is that by understanding the qualities of this path, you can cultivate more wisdom in your own life.
Okay, so instead of just reading about wisdom,
Right.
you're actively engaging with it,
Exactly.
like a muscle.
Exactly, you're developing it.
Yeah.
And the article encourages you to explore all 32 paths,
Wow.
seeing them as a way to unlock different aspects of your potential.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we can't talk about esoteric traditions without mentioning Aleister Crowley.
Of course not.
This issue actually features commentaries
Okay.
on 3 of his visions of Aesers,
Interesting.
which are like these mystical realms
Okay.
that are accessible through specific rituals.
Right.
We're talking Zeomem ARN, and LIL,
Okay.
each representing a different level of spiritual experience.
And what's so intriguing is they use astrological and Kabbalistic analysis
Wow.
to unpack the symbolism. It's like they're giving you these multiple lenses to view these incredibly personal experiences.
So it's not just about what Crowley saw.
Right.
It's about how we can interpret it.
Exactly.
And maybe even find some parallels in our own lives.
Precisely.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So let's start with Xiom. What kind of imagery are we dealing with here?
So you've got Lilith, who's often associated with like the shadow side of the feminine.
Okay.
And then there's the Magus or magician, who plays a crucial role in kind of manifesting the severity of the material world.
Okay.
Think of it as the challenges and difficulties we face in the physical realm.
Okay.
Represented by Malkuth.
Malkuth.
On the Tree of Life.
Okay, so this vision seems to be touching on like the idea of purification and transformation.
Precise.
Through confronting those challenges.
Exactly.
So it makes sense.
And Crowley interprets this as relating to the klippos, which are like the shells or the negative aspects of the Sephiro. It's like he's saying, hey, there's darkness within us, but by facing it, we can achieve greater spiritual growth.
So not exactly a walk in the park.
No.
But potentially very rewarding.
But potentially very rewarding.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that these are just Crowley's interpretations.
Right.
What do you see in these symbols? How do they resonate with your experiences?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I might have to think about that one.
Okay.
But before we get too lost in contemplation, let's move on to the ARN vision.
Okay.
I hear this one centers around the goddess Babylon.
You heard right. And the imagery here is pretty striking. You've got the Song of the Sphinx, which lures and destroys those who hear it.
Wow.
And then there's Crowley's own struggle with the destructive forces of the abyss, which is a symbolic realm of like chaos and dissolution.
Oh, wow. Intense.
Yeah.
What's the takeaway message here?
It's all about confronting your shadow self and finding that balance between opposing forces. The vision kind of culminates with the revelation of Babylon as this force of both creation and destruction.
Creation and de-destruction.
Right.
That's pretty potent.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So is there any like specific symbolism with the name ARN itself?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
You bet. The commentary actually delves into the gematria or numerical value of ARN.
Oh, wow.
Which is 156.
Okay.
The same as the name Babylon in Hebrew.
Interesting.
And they even point out that ARN is the Hebrew word for ark.
Oh, wow.
Linking it to the Ark of the Covenant.
Okay.
And the concept of the Shekinah often associated with the divine feminine.
So many layers of symbolism here.
It's all connected.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
We've got Babylon,
the
Ark of the Covenant, and the Shekinah all tied together in this one vision.
It's about embracing the complexities of the divine feminine.
That's powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that these ancient traditions are full of these hidden meanings, just waiting to be uncovered.
Okay. Yeah. I'm starting to see that.
Okay, good.
But we've got one more vision to tackle.
Okay.
LIL.
What's the central theme here?
Yeah, what's the central theme?
This one focuses on the divine child, Horus.
Okay.
And it emphasizes themes of initiation and spiritual growth.
Okay.
The imagery is really vivid. You've got the child surrounded by archangels.
Oh, wow.
And radiating this, like, colorless brilliance.
That's pretty dazzling.
Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
So there's the Song of Horus, which proclaims his role as the source and end of all things.
Okay.
And the vision also includes these instructions on the path of initiation, which involves trials, purification, and ultimately union with the divine.
So it's like a roadmap with Horus as the guide.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And what's particularly interesting is that this vision culminates with Crowley being recognized as the prophet of the gods.
Wow.
Tasked with ushering in a new eon or era.
Talk about a life-changing experience. Do you think he actually believed he was a prophet?
That's a question for the ages, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what's important is that this vision represents his attainment of this higher level of spiritual awareness.
Right.
And his commitment to guiding others towards similar experiences.
So even if we take the prophet label with a grain of salt, there's still a powerful message there.
Absolutely.
About personal transformation and spiritual growth.
Absolutely. And that's just the beginning of what this issue has to offer.
Wow.
Are you ready to dive deeper?
You bet. Let's see what other treasures we can uncover. Okay. we've covered some pretty heavy territory already, like, shadow selves, divine children, and even a hilarious, satirical order.
Oh, it's great.
But there's so much more to unpack in these commentaries.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about this Zio-M vision.
Okay.
They mentioned that Zio-M corresponds to Bina in Asiluth.
Right.
Which I guess relates to the Tree of Life.
Okay.
Can you break that down for us a little bit?
Sure. So think of the Tree of Life like a map of existence.
Okay.
Okay. Each stop on the map, each Sephira represents a different aspect of reality and consciousness.
Okay.
So Bina, meaning understanding, is this high-level vantage point offering a profound depth of spiritual insight.
Okay.
And Atziluth, that's the ultimate source, the realm of pure divine energy.
Wow.
So Zio-M in this context is accessing that deep understanding from the most pure and divine source.
So we're talking about some serious elevated consciousness here.
Yeah, pretty high-level stuff.
And they mentioned that Crowley was actually an initiate of Bina.
Right.
At the time of this vision.
Exactly. He was a master of the temple,
okay.
which aligns with a deep understanding of Bina within the system of the air.
So he was experiencing this vision from a pretty specific vantage point.
From a very specific vantage
point. Informed by his own level of attainment.
Right. Informed by his own level of attainment.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like he was looking at this vision through a particular filter.
Yeah, like a lens almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They also mentioned something I thought was kind of interesting.
Okay.
Apparently, the vision wasn't as feminine as one might expect, given the astrological influences.
Right. You'd think with Venus and Luna both associated with the feminine being dominant in Crowley's horoscope, you'd see more of those themes.
Yeah.
But aside from the Lilith section, it doesn't really have those strong feminine themes.
So what's the explanation for that?
Well, the commentary suggests it might have been due to Crowley's kind of intellectual approach.
Okay.
So instead of fully engaging with the emotional and intuitive aspects, he focused more on the numerical value of Zio-M and its connection to the severities.
Interesting.
It's almost like he was using his intellect, symbolized by Mercury, as a shield.
So there's this whole other layer of interpretation based on his personal psychology and how he approached these experiences.
It reminds us that these visions, while profound, are still filtered through the lens of the individual's personality and experiences.
So what stands out to you about all this?
I don't know. It makes me wonder if we all do this to some extent.
Yeah.
Use our intellect to distance ourselves from those experiences that might feel overwhelming or too intense.
That's a really good point.
It's something to think about.
Yeah.
But for now,
Let's shift gears and take a closer look at the commentary on the ARN vision.
Okay.
That's
to me.
So what's the first thing that jumps out at you about this one? Well, the commentary mentions that transiting Uranus squared Crowley's natal sun on the day of this vision, astrologically speaking.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that down for me.
Okay.
What does that even mean?
So imagine Uranus as the planet of sudden awakenings, change, and breakthroughs.
Right.
And the sun represents your core self, your purpose. So when these two planets clash, it often signifies a period of profound transformation and revelation.
I'm starting to see why they call this a significant event.
Yeah.
They also make a point of mentioning that this particular transit only aligns perfectly if you're using the sidereal zodiac.
Yes.
Can you explain the difference between the sidereal and tropical zodiacs?
Oh, sure.
I have to admit, I'm a little lost when it comes to the nuances of astrology.
Okay, so think of it this way. The tropical zodiac, the one you're probably most familiar with, is based on the seasons, with Aries beginning at the vernal equinox.
Right.
But the sidereal zodiac is based on the fixed stars.
Okay.
And due to a phenomenon called precession, they're not perfectly aligned.
So the timing of astrological events can differ depending on which system you're using?
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
And in Crowley's case, using the sidereal zodiac provides a more accurate timeline for his experiences.
It's amazing how those seemingly small details can make such a big difference in interpretation.
Yeah.
But getting back to the ARN vision itself, what are some of the key themes or symbols that stand out to you?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, this vision is closely associated with Babylon.
Okay.
And the commentary uses gematria to support this connection,
Okay.
pointing out that the numerical value of ARN is 156, the same as Babylon in Hebrew.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these ancient systems of knowledge can be so interconnected.
Isn't it fascinating?
It really is.
Yeah.
Like they were all talking to each other or something.
Right.
Yeah.
They also mention that ARN is the Hebrew word for ark, which links this vision to the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, right.
And the Shekinah, the feminine presence of God in Kabbalah.
Okay, so we've got Babylon,
Right.
the Ark of the Covenant, and the Shekinah,
Yeah.
all tied together in this one vision.
Exactly. And it's not just about the names and numbers.
Right.
The commentary also delves into the symbolism of the color black, representing the depth and mystery of the divine feminine.
That makes sense.
They even connect the Song of the Sphinx to the concept of surrender and ego death.
Wow, so much to unpack here.
It's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like every element is infused with meaning.
Right.
What about the LIL vision?
Oh, that's a good one.
Any interesting details there?
Well, the setting for this vision is particularly noteworthy.
Okay.
Crowley performed this working at a hot springs,
Interesting.
which likely contributed to the watery and transformative themes
Okay, I can see how that would play into it.
present in the vision.
What are some of those transformative themes?
Well, the central figure is Horus,
Okay.
the crowned and conquering child.
Right.
The commentary suggests that this vision is associated with like the culmination of the path of initiation, the attainment of spiritual mastery.
So it's like reaching the peak of the mountain after a long and arduous climb.
That's a great analogy.
Mm.
The LIL vision also features the moon language,
The moon language.
which is this symbolic and often poetic language
Okay.
used in some esoteric traditions.
Interesting.
It's associated with intuition, the subconscious, and the realm of dreams.
So not something you can just look up in a dictionary.
Not exactly.
How do you even begin to interpret a language like that?
Well, the commentary encourages a symbolic approach,
Okay.
looking for those deeper meanings and connections rather than a literal translation.
Okay, so it's like trying to decipher a dream.
Exactly.
You have to pay attention to the feelings and the images it evokes.
More than the specific words.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Are there any other key elements?
Yeah, there are several references to music,
Right.
specifically the Song of Horus and the sound of a 7-stringed instrument,
Oh, wow.
possibly referencing the 7 chakras.
Music as a tool for spiritual exploration.
Interesting, right?
I like it.
The commentary also points out connections to the tarot,
Okay.
suggesting that specific cards can be used to understand and interpret the vision.
It's amazing how they're encouraging us to explore these visions through so many different lenses. Astrology, Kabbalah, mythology, and even personal experience.
Exactly.
It's like they're giving us this toolbox and saying, go ahead.
Use whatever works for you.
Use whatever works for you.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the LIL vision, Crowley adds this note
Okay.
that it's but a pale reflection in Ruach of the word of the angel of the aether.
What's the significance of that?
Yep. What's that all about?
Well, that's Crowley acknowledging the limitations of language.
Okay.
Ruach in Kabbalah refers to like the intellectual mind or the realm of concepts.
Okay.
He's saying that even his most eloquent words can't fully capture the essence of this mystical experience.
So it's like trying to describe the taste of chocolate
Right.
to someone who's never had it. No matter how detailed you are, words can only go so far.
You can't really put it into words.
We can't.
It highlights the importance of direct experience when it comes to these mystical realms.
I think that's a valuable reminder for all of us.
Yeah.
We can read and study all we want, but ultimately it's about venturing beyond the intellectual
Right.
and into the realm of direct experience.
I completely agree. So we wrap up this deep dive with Crowley the poet. Did you know he had a poetic side?
I do, actually,
Hi.
yeah. I've dabbled a bit in his poetry. It's quite something else.
It is. This issue includes a poem titled The Child,
Okay.
and it seems to tie in nicely with some of the themes we've already explored.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically the LIL vision and that image of the divine child.
Right, so we're going from like mystical visions to poetic exploration of the same concept.
Exactly. Crowley uses poetry to kind of dive into the child as the symbol of spiritual rebirth and transformation.
Okay, I like that.
You know, shedding old ways of being and embracing like a fresh new perspective.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Right. And they've also included some excerpts from a longer Crowley poem, The Garden of Janus.
Okay.
And those seem to touch on similar ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, the excerpts included focus on the birth of a child and the transformative power that comes with it.
Interesting.
They offer a glimpse into Crowley's understanding of the divine child archetype and its role in our spiritual journeys.
It's amazing how he expresses these complex spiritual concepts through poetry.
I know, it's like a whole other dimension.
Right. It really is.
Yeah.
So we've gone from satire and ancient wisdom
Right.
to personal mystical visions and now poetry.
It's quite the journey.
It is. This issue of Black Pearl is like this multifaceted gem.
It really is.
Offering all these different angles to explore.
So many different facets.
It is.
And what's so cool is how it kind of weaves together all these seemingly disparate threads into this like cohesive tapestry of knowledge.
It really speaks to like the depth and richness.
The richness of these traditions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's this reminder that these concepts, while ancient, are still incredibly relevant today.
They're timeless.
They really are.
Yeah.
They offer us like these tools for understanding ourselves, our world.
Our place in the cosmos.
Our place in the cosmos, exactly.
Yeah.
So what stands out to you from all this? Like, what are you going to explore further?
I think that satirical order is calling to me.
Yeah.
With those hilarious attributions.
Yeah, or maybe the 32 Paths of Wisdom will inspire, your own path.
Right. Maybe Crowley's visions or his poetry will spark some mystical explorations of your own.
Yeah. Possibilities are endless.
The possibilities are endless.
That's the beauty of it.
It really is. So whatever path you choose, keep diving. Keep questioning and keep discovering. That's what the deep dive is all about.